Yes.
Just regarding the democracy point, the reason I think that religion is contrary to democracy is because people believe many different things. Again, Christians believe that Jesus is the Messiah and there is a God and so forth. And the charge of blasphemy makes sense only within the purview of Christianity, in as much as you must first recognize that you believe in Jesus and you believe in God and all this sort of thing, and then you can say, right, now to slander God or level hate speech or whatever you want to do, discrimination against God is blasphemy. Well, I think that religion in this context is behaving in the dictatorial fashion that everyone's lamenting here tonight and is agreeing it's pathetic, is because religion is forcing me as a non-believer and many other people of varying denominations or faiths to recognize that which you recognize. This is why it's autocratic, because if I do not believe in Jesus Christ, which it is my democratic right to do, then the charge of blasphemy makes no sense, because if I do not believe that there is a person who is a godly figure, who is the Son of God and so forth, then the charge of blasphemy does not make sense within my worldview. What religion is doing by saying that blasphemy be outlawed or whatever the movement is saying that I must recognize something that you recognize. And that is fundamentally autocratic, because you're telling me that while I may be free to believe that Jesus doesn't exist, I must still take seriously your claim, your charge of blasphemy, which is contingent on the existence and worship of Jesus Christ.
May I say there's a difference between objective, rational discussion over things. Nobody is saying that you can't question, argue in an objective, rational way, in a polite way, on any religious topic. It's Christianity gave this freedom to the world. There was no freedom before that. Before that, you didn't agree with the gods, the polytheistic or whatever, or whichever way they decide to get rid of you, disembowelment and so on. The fact is, Christianity brought about the very democratic freedoms that you're talking about, to dissent. But blasphemy is a malicious attack on other people. For me to say, I don't believe that you know who your father is different from saying that your father's a bleep, 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 bleep. Now when people turn, I've never met your father. How do I even know he is there? Now, you are saying, I don't know your God, I don't know Jesus Christ, so how can I blaspheme him? You can question him, but for you to use all kinds of filthy gutter language, as the Rag magazine did against God and Jesus Christ, now that is unacceptable. It's just basic common decency. In a civilization, we don't go around swearing against people, against their mothers, fathers, or anyone in the special right?
Okay, but here's my point though. And I completely agree with you, and I do not vindicate Richard Sagan's article. Like my friend Russell, I completely agree it was gutter, it was based into lowest common denominator, it was pathetic. And I think the big problem here is that you're assuming that Richard Sagan represents rationalists, and he clearly does not. What he's doing is completely facetious and vulgar, is how I would describe it. Now my point is, I'm a very reasonable person, I'm all for the critique of different religions. As you're saying, I'm not a person who's advocating gutter language, be it against religion or be it against people. I think that a society in which we say, it's cool and it's a good thing to slag off people of ad hominem is a pathetic proposition to give the time of day.
We're in agreement on that.
We're completely agree. But my point is that people do use gutter language, okay? And shamefully so, I completely agree with you, but my point is, we don't say, we're now going to outlaw the fact that you have a foul mouth. But the point is, then, when it becomes, because see, if I don't believe that Jesus Christ exists, then, okay, let's say, for example, I believe Jesus Christ to be a work of fiction, much like Joseph K. in a Franz Kafka novel, or any other protagonist of any other work of fiction.
Then we need to discuss the case of Christ.
Yeah, but you see, this is off topic, it's completely off topic, it's a debate.
It's another day.
Okay.
Another day we'll do an
example. So my point is, if I were to be foul-mouthed, and it's a reprehensible thing to do, and I'm not going to have much respect for someone who is gutter-mouthed, but if I'm going to, slander some protagonist from a work of fiction or any kind of fictional character, you're not going to give time of day to someone saying, we should actually outlaw the fact that you're slagging. So we come back to my original point. In order for the charge of blasphemy to make sense, you must first agree on the proposition that Jesus Christ firstly existed, or is this messianic thing, or messianic thing. And so my point is, you are being fundamentally anti-democratic by telling me that I must recognize your charge of blasphemy, because to recognize your charge of blasphemy, I must therefore recognize all the claims about Jesus Christ, and it is my democratic right. And we do live in a constitutional democracy, and it's my democratic right not to be. And I don't.
Okay? Just behind you, would you like to respond?
Yes, please. I think it would be very naive to claim that God doesn't exist.
But this is a different issue.
No, I know this is a different issue, but you're asking me. I was
Sorry, one person talk at a time, you've got the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Because the thing is that everything that we are as human beings comes from a cocktail of where we've come from. Now, when I think the way that I think, I say that I think the way that I think because I'm a Xhosa boy and I went to a certain school and I went to a certain university and therefore this is who I am. This is the conclusion. Or when I die, that will be the conclusion of what I've been through, you understand it. Now, because of that, when you insult my culture, you insult who I am, in essence, you understand? That's why if you were to write something against Xhosa people, something that, for instance, that...
That's an ethnic issue, it's not...
No, just listen, please listen. It would be an insult to the culture and it would bring some sort of upheaval, you understand? Now, a lot of who we are in South Africa is a majoritarian Christian country, you understand? In other words, when a person says, when for instance, the people who liberated us, a person like Oliver Tambo says that who I am now is because Jesus died on the cross, you understand? So now, when you insult Christianity, the insult goes directly to the person, you understand?
No, I don't understand. I don't understand.
So maybe we should just let the more
You understand? So whether you look at Christianity as a culture, whether you look at it as a religion, but it's who we are, you understand? And therefore, you cannot simply criticize. There's nothing wrong with criticizing, you understand? If you come to me and say, I think this is what's wrong with the Xhosa culture, A, B, and C, it's one thing. But when you insult it without knowing the detail, it's another thing, you understand? And therefore, I'm not against criticism of Christianity. And many of the people that took us, the fact that you're here, an Indian person, are here today, sitting next to a white person, has a lot to do with Christianity. So why do you choose to overlook that?
Yeah.